Well, good evening and welcome to Channel 8 Sports and East Brunswick High School football. Hi, I'm John Meggiolaro, being joined by Jim Allinder, and we're awaiting the arrival of Phil Hill, and we hope Phil will get here soon for this game between East Brunswick and Cedar Ridge here in Old Bridge. And Jim, a little brisk night here.
Yeah, it's rather cool, quite in contrast to last week.
All right, East Brunswick comes in, and this is a big game for the Bears, quite honestly. There's a lot on the line, not only in terms of their record, but also in terms of state playoffs.
Well, that's quite the point, John. East Brunswick, if it can win tonight, will secure the top seed in the Central Jersey Group 4 playoffs. And looking across the field, behind the East Brunswick bench is the East Brunswick crowd, and it's not a big one. It really isn't. Certainly not for the number 3 team in the state. I'm a little disappointed, and I hope the fans realize this is a very, very important game. If East Brunswick does not win this game, all the wins of the last 6 weeks will go right down the drain. They certainly will not qualify for the playoffs, much less be the top seed, and they would not win the Red Division of the GMC. So a lot is at stake at this game, and Cedar Ridge is a worthy opponent. They last week tied Edison, and Edison gave the Bears a good game. 13-13 was that score. And then 2 weeks before that, it took a fourth quarter touchdown by J.P. Stevens for the Hawks to pull out a 9-7 victory over Cedar Ridge. The Cougars, which is the nickname for Cedar Ridge, had J.P. Stevens on the ropes for the entire game. The game was played right here. They have some good quality players. Quarterback is Starner. Let me see if I can get the Steve Starner, number 12. We are going to watch the running back 24, Shannon Starks, who is probably, he has to be considered among the better backs in the conference. He has about 500 yards in rushing, and he's that type of breakaway back that we see in Tim Bradley of J.P. Stevens, and combining the power of like Dennis McKim of Woodbridge. They're apparently rugged on defense. They've got some size. They've got excellent coaching in Doug O'Connell. And I think the Bears are going to have to play their, up to their usual high caliber of game in order to stop Cedar Ridge tonight.
All right, the Bears come in with a big victory over J.P. Stevens last week, 31-20. And they come in with a 6-1 record. As you see, the captains out there awaiting the coin toss. See who will receive.
Of course, Brian Forte, the East Brunswick quarterback, with his 4 touchdown passes last week, 3 to Ramon Trent, broke the East Brunswick record of 12 set by Billy Logan back in 1982. He has 13 on the season. That easily is the top number in the county this year. And each passing week, John, we see the East Brunswick offense and its young team become more mature. And as Marcus Borden, the East Brunswick coach, said, things are coming together. They're starting to gel.
Jim, what can we look for in terms of Cedar Ridge?
Well, as I mentioned, Shannon Starks, 24, is their main threat. They're going to run right at East Brunswick. Nothing fancy. The quarterback, Starner, is not a terrific passer, O'Connell says. So he's young. He's a junior, and he's going to have to learn the hard way. Defensively, O'Connell says, well, if I had the answer to stopping East Brunswick, it'd be a hero. But they thought that they could go after East Brunswick passing game and leave it at that, but then they found out in the last couple weeks, 3 weeks, that East Brunswick has a running game. We knew that all along. So it's a difficult assignment for Coach O'Connor's team, O'Connell's team, and I guess we're going to start here, huh?
Okay, the Bears will receive. They're in the visitors' white. They'll be moving right to left on your screen. Kicking off for Cedar Ridge will be number 14, Jason Gilfallen. And back deep for the Bears are Harmon, Brunig, and DeVito, the usual trio.
Yep.
And we're just about ready to get this game underway.
Field, John, is in relatively good shape considering that 2 teams, Madison Central also plays here.
And the ball blows off the tee, so that could be a problem tonight.
Well, is there a wind out there? Apparently there is. I had thought the wind died down, but maybe it could have been a matter of the ball just not being held up on the tee properly. I think the wind has died down sufficiently enough so that Forte's passing game can work if he gets it to his receivers.
All right, as we said, a very cool, crisp evening, and we'll see if that has any effect on this game. Anyway, a rather short kick. That's going to be DeVito at his 15-yard line. Joey DeVito up the middle. And he'll be close to what we believe is the 40. As you may know from our Madison Central game, the yard markers are across on the bleachers, and it's difficult for us to identify the proper yard lines with the players in the crowd standing around.
Real nice player for Cedar Ridge on defense is number 78, Rich Laverty. He's a senior, 6'5", 260, and he's a legitimate all-conference player.
All right, 1st and 10 for the Bears. The ball is spotted at their own 39-yard line. Forte with the pitch to Harmon. Mark trying to turn the corner. He's got some room close to the 50 and close to the 1st down.
And there was the run to the wide side. If Phil was here, he'd be proud. East Brunswick certainly can do it on both the ground and through the air. And I think Marcus Borden, the East Brunswick coach, is going to just simply try out different areas and see where he's going to have most success.
All right, we're going to have an official's timeout as they bring the chains across to see if Harmon picked up the 1st down. He was able to turn the corner. And we're blocked out from the view, but it appears to be short. So let's call it 2nd and about 1 for the 1st.
Well, it's good to see that all the lights are working tonight, John. You remember the last game we were here, a bank went out at halftime.
Well, Jim, we just started the game. Hold on. All right, the ball at the East Brunswick 47. It's 2nd and 1. Brunig and DeVito in the backfield with Forte. Trent split wide right, Drew wide left. DeVito's got the 1st down and crosses midfield into Cedar Ridge territory.
3 hard yards by Joe DeVito, the junior tailback.
So the Bears will take over on the Cedar Ridge 48, 1st and 10. We've just started this game. Bears received the opening kickoff. Drew is wide left, Trent wide right. Forte looking, pumps, looking down the left side for Drew. He's got him, and just out of reach. And I believe that's Drew. That's number 19.
It is Drew. He's wearing number 19 tonight. That was a fine pass. I think Joe had just slowed up a little bit. He had outrun his defender, and if he had kept on going, he would have connected on that pass.
All right, so Forte's first pass is incomplete. It'll bring up 2nd and 10 for the Bears.
Well, he really does that pump action nice, John.
Trent and Drew now to the left side. Forte right up the middle. He's got the 1st down. Close to the Cedar Ridge 30.
And that was a gain of about 13 yards. And as we had stated before, Brian, when he sees the opening, will make that call on his own. I don't even think the blockers know what's going on his side of the field. By the way, if you hear some, well, go ahead, John.
All right, the ball is actually at the Cedar Ridge 36-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Bears. Forte right up the middle again. 1st down. At the 25-yard line. And we didn't, when we talked about a running game, we didn't expect it to be Forte.
Exactly, and I don't think Cedar Ridge was. And they'll have to make some adjustments right now. I was going to say, Larry, you were hearing a Cedar Ridge fan. We are on the home side of the field, which is why you're hearing that.
All right, the ball at the Cedar Ridge 24, 1st and 10. Trent Drew to the right. Long count. DeVito. And Joey will be close to the 20.
East Brunswick line doing its job there. Phil, John, I just saw the Trenton coaches just walk in. Trenton is possibly East Brunswick's 1st round opponent in the playoffs.
Okay, let's call it 2nd and about 6 for the Bears. And we'll have a timeout, officials timeout. I'm not sure what's going on. All right, things are back in order. And again, Trent and Drew are wide right. The pitch to Harmon. Mark cuts it up, and he'll pick up maybe 2. And I've got to think, Jim, that sooner or later we're going to see that ball go out to Trent or Drew on that right side.
That's right, and we cannot forget our tight end, Dave Potter, 85.
So it'll be 3rd and about 3 for the Bears. Ball at the Cedar Ridge 17-yard line. Forte has it on a little bootleg, looking over the middle. He's got his man Potter. You called it, Jim.
Well, Dave is getting a lot of confidence. He's a viable receiver. Certainly a big target at about 6'3", and let's get his vitals. 6'4", 205, just a junior. Quite a big target for Brian to throw to, and Dave is getting a lot of confidence in catching that ball.
All right, from our vantage point, it looks like the ball is at the 5-yard line, so it'll be 1st and goal for the Bears. Quick pitch, Harmon. Mark trying to get around the corner. We'll get down to about the 3-yard line. We have 8:18 to go here in the first period. No score, but East Brunswick is threatening. And a timeout. There's an injured Cedar Ridge player down.
Right. So the Bears showing that they can do it through the air and on the ground. On the ground mostly. That one pass to, one completion to, I guess that was Dave Potter, right? Okay. Let's see if we can find out who that injured player is over there. And it's important for East Brunswick to get on the board first. Cedar Ridge, if you give them an opportunity, this is a young team, and if they get on the board first, then they're going to get that confidence up.
All right, they're looking at the injured player on the sideline. He's on the East Brunswick side of the field. It'll be 2nd and goal for the Bears when they come back over the ball. And again, we're having a little difficulty spotting the ball from our vantage point. The scoreboard says it's at the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
So that's where we'll call it. It'll be 2nd and goal from the 5 for the Bears.
Okay, John, I believe that's Al Giles, number 10 for Cedar Ridge.
You're right, Jim, and Al is up and walking. He's coming off the field now. So we'll see if East Brunswick can punch it in here. 8:15 to go here in the first period, no score. It'll be 2nd and goal for the Bears, the ball on the 5-yard line.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a little flat pass, John. Cedar Ridge has quite a big line out there to go right through the middle.
All right, East Brunswick has a full house backfield with Brunig, Miller, and DeVito. And this is Miller, his carry. He's close to the goal line. He's in. Matt Miller scores for the Bears.
Late call, but he was in. And I'm one happy guy because I've been calling for Matt Miller to get his touchdown all season long. That's his first of the year.
So
Matt Miller.
Miller from the 5-yard line.
From the 5-yard line on a 5-yard run going across that right guard for East Brunswick. And that means Gene Kammer and Don Sofolkanek on the right side.
So East Brunswick's on the board first. Josh Miller out to put on the 7th point. Troy White will do the holding. Kick is up, and it's good, and the Bears are on top, 7-0. 7:53 to go here in the first period. And Jimmy, we have a guest visitor.
Well, my helicopter was a little late finding a landing spot, but I'm glad to be here to see Matt Miller's first touchdown of the year.
Yeah, we were just making mention of that. We've been wishing for Matt to get the ball. He's the captain for East Brunswick, co-captain along with Bill Brunig. And Phil, we also made mention now how important it is that the Bears got on the boards first.
Well, Phil, it's good to see you. Glad you could make it.
I figured it's your kind of weather, so.
New York traffic, that's what it is.
Oh, man.
You'd be happy to know Jimmy and I carried on quite well without you.
I'll find out.
Okay.
All right, getting back to the game.
All right.
East Brunswick will kick off after Matt Miller's first touchdown, as Phil said, of the season. 5-yard ramble into the end zone, and so Cedar Ridge will touch the ball for the first time tonight on offense.
And along with Shannon Starks, John, back there at number 25, Jason Lazarski. And he's a sophomore, 5'3", 135 pounds.
Brave fella. Here we go, Miller's kick. And it's going to go into the end zone and out. It'll come out to the 20-yard line.
Well, Josh does his job again.
And I tell you, to do it on a night like tonight, you know, Jimmy, when the weather drops, that ball gets hard as a rock, and kick it as far as Josh did means he's really still putting foot into it.
That's right.
So the Cougars will start off from their own 20. First time on offense. The key man is number 24 for them, Shannon Starks. Starner is the quarterback, number 12. I formation. And Starner looks like a broken play, and he'll get back to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what was going to develop out of that play. Looks like Starks was expected to get that ball and just didn't get it.
Well, with the I formation, he has several people to hand it to, and he turned around. There was nobody handed to. He had to eat it.
All right, Starner falls forward for a yard. It's 2nd and 9 for the Cougars, the ball at their own 21. Again, I formation. Starner looking to throw, being pressured. He's going to be dropped for a loss.
And in there, number 91 for East Brunswick, Mark Flynn. By the way, we should mention that Mark and John Flynn are twin brothers. Gentlemen, twin brothers.
I'll tell you, both good-looking kids, too.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of brother acts, Flanagans and Pazinkos and Prusses, but they've never played at the same time, and I don't think we can ever remember two brothers performing so well at the very same time.
All right, Mike Hack, 63, the junior, was also in on that play, and it's good to see Mike back up to 100%.
All right, so Cedar Ridge facing a big 3rd down. Inside handoff to number 22, that's Ken Flynn. And Flynn will get back to what was the line of scrimmage. And it'll bring up a 4th down for Cedar Ridge, and so they'll have to punt it away. And Jimmy, what about their kicking game?
Non-existent. They really certainly don't have the type of kicker that East Brunswick has in Josh Miller. And maybe it's a little unfair to say that it's non-existent, but certainly we're not aware of it being, you know, I think the Bears ought to get the ball back in good field position.
All right, Harmon and Brunig are back for the Bears. A high punt fielded by Harmon at his own 48, fakes the reverse, cuts upfield, looking for that wall. Harmon still on his feet into Cedar Ridge territory.
And a fine run back by Harmon.
Ball popped out, but it was recovered by the Bears, so they'll start over right there.
Phil, you mentioned that ball is hard to handle when it's crisp and cool.
When it's cold, it gets very slippery, and it's hard on the hands. Just like I said, Jimmy, it's like a rock. So, and when the wind chill factor is low, it makes it so very difficult.
Right.
All right, the ball is spotted at the Cedar Ridge 44-yard line, and the Bears will go on offense for the 2nd time in this period. And we have 5:27 to go. Bears on top, 7-0. Trent wide left, and it looks like he has single coverage. Pitch to Harmon. Mark cuts up, crosses the 40.
Phil, that was a good job of just following the blockers.
And that's when a runner is mature, and when he can pace himself and follow his blockers. There are a lot of young, swift running backs, but they don't have enough common sense to follow the blockers. Mark Harmon has matured.
One of the blockers out there, 59, Gene Kammerer.
All right, Harmon picks up 5. Let's call it 2nd and 5. Ball at the Cedar Ridge 38. I formation for the Bears. This is Brunig. Big hole. Billy's got the first down.
Well, it's very obvious that East Brunswick can play with a lot of its tools tonight.
I was just thinking the same thing, Jimmy. It's no disrespect to Cedar Ridge, but if Marcus Borden wants to sharpen a few things to get ready for the playoffs, this is, even though it's early, it's a good opportunity.
First and 10, the ball at the Cedar Ridge 32. Drew and Trent wide left. Harmon and Mark will pick up 6 yards.
Good running. I tell you, we're talking about the playoffs, and people are thinking about the playoffs. We see Trenton Central High School scouts here, and they're not just here because they want to take in this game. They're looking to see what's going to happen down the road because they have a good chance of being in the playoffs themselves.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about the playoffs later. By the way, number 46 for Cedar Ridge, Chris Bright. We had mentioned he was not at 100% full capacity as a fullback, and he's also playing defense for the Cougars. He's down on the field right now. But Trenton Central is undefeated. And the only problem with Trenton is that they play a number of Group 3 teams.
PowerPoints.
And in PowerPoint situations. So East Brunswick still has a wide margin as far as the top seed in the Central Jersey Group 4 playoffs.
Yeah. I'd like to correct myself, something on last week. Yes, I make mistakes, John. I mentioned that Brian Forte had gone ahead of Bill Logan, and that's true, with 13 touchdown passes. But, of course, he's nowhere near Steve Hughes at this point, who has 21 for the year.
Okay.
And he still has a good chance of catching them, however, I think.
Yeah, that's a good question to pose. Phil, you've seen Steve Hughes play quarterback.
Right.
And, of course, we're watching Brian Forte. How do you compare? What comparisons can you make with these two?
The one thing that is crystal clear is that I think Brian Forte has as strong as arm as any kid that you see in high school, but Steve Hughes, I believe, had a better touch. Mm-hmm. Steve Hughes knew when to take something off the ball and when to put something on the ball. Brian Forte has another year, and he's gonna learn that, but you won't find a kid with a stronger arm than Brian.
All right, the Bears 2nd and 5 on the Cedar Ridge 27. Trenton Drew wide left, I formation. This is Brunig right up the middle. Billy's got the first. And when they need that first down, they go to Bill Brunig.
Yes, they do.
Well, John, it's a good point. They got players that they use in special situations. The closer they get to the goal line, then they'll go for Joey DeVito because he seems to have more of a nose when he gets by the goal line. And, of course, Mark Harmon can strike from just about anywhere.
All right, timeout, Cedar Ridge, their first of the half.
And go ahead, John.
And we haven't ended the first period yet.
Right. I think O'Connell is just, after talking with his spotters up here, is just trying to find out what they can do to stop East Brunswick. I had thought with Cedar Ridge's size that East Brunswick would have to run the flanks a lot more, but they're doing it around the sides, through the middle, through the air. They've only thrown the ball twice, but the first one was incomplete to Giroux, and then, of course, they nailed that one to Potter down there by the 10-yard line. So East Brunswick can do what it wants.
And I tell you, speaking about scouting, we have Mike Lepore, who is scouting up here for Cedar Ridge, and of course, Mike, a former South River coach, now coaching here at Cedar Ridge.
Jimmy, did we really miss this guy before? So Cedar Ridge calls a timeout, and East Brunswick, you see Marcus Borden leaving the huddle. They will have a 1st and 10, looking to add to their 7-0 lead. We're down to 3:28 in the first period. And DeVito, and the ball's loose. It's still loose. I think Cedar Ridge has recovered. Yes.
Right.
So a turnover deep in Cedar Ridge territory is a break for the Cougars.
And we're probably going to see more of that again because it is very cold out there, and it simply makes that ball tougher to handle.
So Cedar Ridge dodges a bullet here. Late in the first period, East Brunswick's on top 7-0, and they'll see if they can get something going. Their last series consisted of 4 plays and a punt. 3 plays rather and a punt. And so they'll bring it out with Starner at quarterback. We've yet to see Starks carry the ball. And here he goes on a sweep. And he's dropped right there at the line.
Right, just a well-played defensive play by East Brunswick there. That was 88. Shannon Holcomb on the left side was able to contain Starks, and that gave enough time for Schenk Ugar, the linebacker, to make the tackle.
So let's call it 2nd and 10 for the Cougars. The ball on their own 15. They split the backfield now. And Starner's going to throw it. Looking over the middle, the ball's tipped in the air, incomplete. He was looking for Ken Flynn, number 22.
I'll tell you, in good coverage by East Brunswick defenders. Matt Miller dropping deep back there to defend.
So Cedar Ridge again facing a big 3rd down play. And they really don't have that passing offense, or apparently it doesn't appear that they have a passing offense. So they're in a hole here, 3rd and 10 on their own 15, and you wonder if they're going to put it up in this end of the field. Shotgun formation. Starner from about his 5-yard line. A flag is down. Looking deep over the middle for number 83. That's Bellotta. But a flag is down. We'll see what the call is.
Well, if that's against Cedar Ridge, I guess East Brunswick would refuse that.
It's procedure against the Cougars.
I'll tell you, number 7 for East Brunswick, Troy White, can expect a lot of attention the rest of the year out. Teams that are going to play against East Brunswick are going to try to find a weak link, and that's not to say White is a weak link, but he's relatively new back there, so he's going to be picked on a while until he proves himself.
Well, I think, Phil, that Cedar Ridge would like that matchup of Bellotta, who's 6'3", and Troy White, who's 5'8".
All right, so Cedar Ridge will punt. That's Flynn, number 22, back for the Bears. Brunig and Harmon. And almost blocked by Goldstein. High kick. This is Brunig at his 45-yard line. He's got some running room, and Brunig again into Cedar Ridge territory. So the Bears will start off with excellent field position.
Fine run back. Again, some of the fans are a little complaining that it was a clip, but that was a fine block there.
It was a fine block, I tell you. What a good fake will do. Mark Harmon took quite a shot on that because the Cedar Ridge defender thought he had the ball.
Well, maybe we'll see a Trent pass right now. Look, Trent and Giroux are both wide to the right, John.
1st and 10 on the Cedar Ridge 36. And we'll see if they go to Trent and Giroux. They'll keep it on the ground with Harmon. Mark Harmon's got the first down and much more as he fights his way down close to the 20-yard line.
Have to give him 19 yards on that carry.
So the Bears chewing up yardage on the ground. They really don't have to put the ball in the air.
They pretty much seems like they can do what they want, but I got to believe they want to really get that running game really sharpened.
1:27 to go in the period. 1st and 10, the ball on the Cedar Ridge 20-yard line. Giroux and Trent wide right. And timeout, Cedar Ridge, their second.
Very interesting. They might have seen something there that they did not like. Well, except for that turnover, it's been all East Brunswick, Phil.
Well, I tell you, you got to like the fact that East Brunswick is really sharpening up there. It's getting time near playoff, and this team is so much better. I was just thinking the other day that Cherokee, I don't know if Cherokee is as good of a team as they were in the early part of the season, and we know East Brunswick is a much better team now. I really would like to see that matchup about this time of the year, because the line has improved both offensively and defensively so much more. Trent has developed into quite a ball player. He's really got a feel for playing football now. All the other receivers have developed quite well, and they just seem like a very confident group here, and they are one of the better teams in the state right now.
Right. New York Star Ledger, a statewide newspaper, has East Brunswick currently ranked 3rd. And
3rd in the state, 1st in the county. All right, the Bears 1st and 10. Again, they're at the Cedar Ridge 20. Here's DeVito. And Joey gets back to the line of scrimmage.
Phil, not to be critical of Joe, but you notice he carries that ball high and doesn't tuck it in. Is that one of the reasons, perhaps, that he's fumbling the ball?
Well, he's only fumbled twice, Jimmy. Once last week and this one tonight. Tonight he was carrying rather high and he got hit, but I thought the coldness, numbs your fingers and whatnot. Right. He's only fumbled twice, so he doesn't really have a real problem.
Clock is running. We're down to 40 seconds in the period. Trent and Drew wide right, I formation for the Bears. 2nd and 10 on the Cedar Ridge 20. Forte looking, stops. Nice square out to Drew. Did he hold on to it? And he did.
Well, the referee did not signal whether it was complete or not. I guess from our vantage point, it must have been in by a wide margin, but you just can't tell from this angle.
And Phil, I've got to say, that says something about Forte's arm, to throw that wide square out from the wide side of the field, actually.
I said it, he has one of the strongest arms around. It seems like everybody else is understanding what a quarterback he is, what we've been saying from the beginning of the year.
And I see Laverty off the field now. He's the big...
And that'll end the first period here at Cedar Ridge High School, where the Bears are leading 7-0, but they have the ball on the Cedar Ridge 13.
All right, Cedar Ridge, we noticed number 78, Rich Laverty, the 6'5", 260-pound tackle, limped off the field. And if he's not able to go, Cedar Ridge is going to have a big hole on that left side. Now we can mention real quickly that the East Brunswick boys soccer team has rebounded real well. Will have played on Sunday in the GMC Finals soccer tournament, and that was accomplished by virtue of upsetting, if you will. I don't think it's an upset, but beating St. Joseph 3-1 last week. That got them into the finals. We know that the the Falcons had beaten East Brunswick twice this year, but I think it was a great measure of revenge for East Brunswick to win. Girls team also played in the finals on Sunday. By the way, the boys played North Brunswick in the final, and the girls played Madison Central, and they were able to get there by knocking off North Brunswick 6-0. Lisa Gagno, 4 more goals, brings her 104 now.
All right, the Bears third and about 3 for the first on the Cedar Ridge 13. Brunig twisting and turning.
And it was a loose ball there?
I'm not sure. Yes, you're right. Fallen on by, I can't see the number 62, I believe. Sulfoconic.
And it looks like they're short, John. It's a 4th and about 2. So
the Bears with their first challenge, if you will, of the evening.
Well, no field goal attempt.
And they'll go for it. Ball on the Cedar Ridge 12 as we start the second period. Forte right up the middle. He's got the first down.
And
I'll tell you, well, it wasn't as if there weren't any defenders there, but Brian Forte is so very strong that he was able to pick up that first down, even with defenders on him.
And Phil, before you got here, Brian was able to sneak the ball for 13 and 11 yards on 2 previous carries.
Well, I'll tell you, Bishop Bard coach Ashantino thought Brian Forte was the best quarterback that he's ever seen. that's saying a whole lot. But he's just quite impressive. I don't think we can talk about him enough.
All right, the ball is spotted on the 9, so it's first and goal for the Bears. They lead 7-0. And it'll be Brunig around the left side. Billy Brunig still on his feet. Touchdown, East Brunswick.
And tremendous blocking on the left side of that line. Gene Kammerer, 59 out there. 56, Dave Clark was also out there. And the players get up so quick we can't even identify them.
And some awfully gritty running by Bill Brunig.
Right, even the tight end, Dave Potter, 85, had a hand in that blocking out there.
So the Bears up 13-0, looking to put the 14th point on with Josh Miller out. And so far, East Brunswick's pretty much had their way this evening. Here's the kick. And it's good.
Oh, that just made it. It's a little wide to the left, but was just enough to get over that crossbar.
So the Bears running at will against Cedar Ridge and have not put the ball up all that much thus far.
Well, I'll tell you what, gentlemen, I'll venture to say that with the Trenton scouts and probably some scouts from Manalapan maybe here, and Stevens has already taken a look at, and those are the 4 teams that would be in consideration for the playoffs at this point. I don't think Marcus Borden wants to show.
You may be right, Jimmy.
Quite everything.
Of course, I come from the school of show them everything, make them worry about everything. So, but you're probably right. He doesn't want to show too much. Of course, he doesn't have to.
Of course, what Trenton has seen already is enough to worry about.
Starks and Lazarski will go back for the Cougars.
Boy, the ratio of running to passing plays is something. East Brunswick has run the ball 15 times, and Bryan has only put the ball up in the air 3 times.
And we'll see if Josh Miller's able to put this ball in the end zone. It's a fine kick. This is going to be Lazinski. And he's up around the 20-yard line. So the little man brings it out for the Cougars.
I'll tell you, Mark Rulo making that initial hit, and Rulo is another player that has really come on. A lot of these young players have really found themselves, and they just exude confidence. They really feel they're in the flow of things right now.
All right, the ball spotted at the Cedar Ridge 25, 1st and 10. And they need to get something going offensively. Starner going back to pass. Here comes Flynn with pressure, and Starner has to throw the ball over the head of his intended receiver, Scully.
And just the pressure that was applied by Flynn was enough to cause Starner to hurry that throw. The screen pass never really developed.
I'll tell you, and Flynn's one of the vocal leaders out there. We said early in the year they don't have too many people that are vocal, but if you watch some of the films, Flynn is constantly yelling to his players, pumping them up to get them ready to play. I like that.
2nd and 10 for the Cougars on their own 25. They trail 14-0 here in the 2nd period. This is Starks, and he slides his way through for a pickup of close to 5 yards.
And that was about the most daylight that Cedar Ridge has had all evening. Starks was able to squirm through, and I'll tell you what, gentlemen, I think Cedar Ridge is a little intimidated at this point. They really can't figure out East Brunswick.
Just under 10 minutes to go here in the 2nd period. It'll be 3rd and 5 for the Cougars. Ball is resting at their own 31. I formation. Starner looking over the middle and dropped by number 88, I believe, Crespo.
I think that was 83 that was getting up. And boy, I'll tell you what, a nice good timing tackle by Troy White.
I'll tell you, very close to the first down if he would have caught it.
You're right, Jim, it was 83. Lahota.
Yeah, that was that mismatch again. Lahota being 6'3".
So Cedar Ridge will be forced to punt once again. They have yet to pick up a first down. Harmon and Brunig will be back. Flynn gets it off. It's a low kick. And it'll go out of bounds at around the East Brunswick 42-yard line.
Well, perhaps that was the best thing for Cedar Ridge to do rather than get it on the hands of Brunig or Harmon. You could tell the way he dropped that ball, that kicker Flynn, that it wasn't going to be a good one. It was just a possibility that he was going to connect on it. And I suspect that East Brunswick will probably still stay on the ground.
Well, I think they're going to do a first down,
okay.
Wing it. You know Marcus.
All right, the Bears come out 1st and 10 on their own 42. Giroux and Trent split wide right. There's that little hitch pass to Trent, and right through his hands.
And we said it before. Trent has gotten to be very proficient at catching a bomb, yet the little side ones are the ones that he's going to have to show a lot more concentration on.
And, of course, they go to the air on the first play.
That's why you're up here, Jim.
You bet.
I think Cedar Ridge's defense is just thoroughly confused. They don't know what to look for at this point. So we'll call it 2nd and 10. And Forte will pitch it out to Brunig. Billy trying to turn the corner, and he'll be dropped, maybe lose a yard.
And credit a nice play there by Bob Garrison, 87.
An excellent play by that defensive end. He strung the play out and contained it and made the tackle as well.
Hey, just a sophomore, that player.
Oh.
All right, they say Brunig got back to the line of scrimmage, so let's call it 3rd and 10. Ball at the East Brunswick 42. Trent right, Giroux left. Forte has it. Has some time. He's going to run with it. He's got an open field. First down into East Brunswick territory. Brian Forte, after a big pileup, gets across his own 40-yard line.
And that play right there shows you the maturity that Brian Forte has as a quarterback. Oh, we have a flag back there? Oh, yes, we do.
And they're going to call a clip against East Brunswick.
All right, so that'll negate that gain. But even though it's going to be a penalty, Phil, the way that was played, I mean, Brian saw that his receiver Trent was covered and just immediately took off.
Well, he showed great maturity, as you said, but he might have showed a lot more maturity by going down sooner.
Well, he'll learn. All right, so the penalty will move East Brunswick back. And the ball will be resting at their own 30. So a 3rd and close to 20 for the first.
Well, you know it's an opportunity to show off the arm right now, and you got to believe he's going to go deep.
Giroux split wide left, Trent to the right side. Forte drops back, sets up a screen, and Brunig catches it on the ground, and that's where he'll be down.
It'll be a loss.
I'll tell you, the thought was good, though. We thought that he might go deep, and we sure Cedar Ridge felt the same way, and they were prepared to throw underneath.
Yes, they were.
And with Brunig's running ability, if he could have stayed on his feet, who knows?
So Josh Miller on for his, I believe, first punt of the evening.
It is.
And so with 7:58 to go before half, East Brunswick will give up the ball, leading 14-0. Miller gets up off a high kick. This is going to be Crespo, and he'll be taken down at around his own 46-yard line, 47. So Cedar Ridge will go on offense.
I'll tell you that Jesse James' gang is just, they play with reckless abandon, throwing bodies in the air and everything.
Well, Cedar Ridge at least will have good field position. This is, I guess they're what, right over on the at their own 48-yard line, and easily the best field position they've had this evening.
All right, the Cougars come out 1st and 10, and you're right, Jim, it's their best field position. They have yet to pick up a first down. 7:25 to go. This is Starks, crosses midfield, And he'll pick up close to 5.
Tell you, a short run, but all the good backs always, you can tell, they keep those legs churning.
Let's call it 2nd and 5. And Cedar Ridge has moved into East Brunswick territory for the first time this evening. The ball spotted at the East Brunswick 47. This is Starks. And Starks gets to the line and then is creamed by Rulo, number 17, and Matt Miller.
Right, it was Ruler, Phil, that was back there first that
right.
caused that handoff.
Matt Miller and Sean Smith coming in a little later.
So Cedar Ridge faces itself with another 3rd down, 3rd and 5.
We see that little sophomore, number 25.
Lazarski.
Yeah, he's wide to the right. Gosh, he's small.
They have him in the slot. And Starner drops back, being pressured by Smith. Gets it away, and it's going to be out of bounds, incomplete. And so Cedar Ridge will punt once again.
And that's what O'Connell was talking about as far as Starner's inexperience. Apparently, he had thought that a player was going to cut over and simply just threw it in that direction, hoping that Cedar Ridge player would be there. But he also has to have the presence of mind to look and see where his receivers are and make the adjustment.
Well, he had that Mack truck, number 75, Sean Smith coming in on him. It sort of makes you lose your perspective a little bit.
So this is getting to be redundant, but Brunig and Harmon are back.
We're waiting for Harmon to break another one here.
Let's see if Flynn can get the punt off. He gets it off, it's high, and they're gonna let it bound, and then Brunig will pick it up as that ball was headed towards the end zone.
Sean Scully on the tackle there.
Right, we haven't called his number too much tonight. Scully, number 28, he's a 5'10", 180-pound senior, quality defensive player for Cedar Ridge.
All right, the Bears will have it 1st and 10 on their own 19. 5:47 to go before a half. And Trent and Drew are wide right. Here's a counter handoff to Harmon. Ball's loose. And East Brunswick recovers.
Right, I think that was 62 for East Brunswick on the recovery. Don Sofoconic.
You're right, Jim. That's his 2nd one tonight.
That's the 2nd one tonight. We'll probably see a couple more because of the slickness of the ball. It really gets slick, hard and slick.
Well, through all that, East Brunswick gets a 1st down. Ball now at their own 31. Again, the double receiver wide right. And Brunig, I'm sorry, Joe DeVito. Joey will pick up maybe a yard.
Joey, Mark Hester in on a tackle, but Joey spun him around and almost ripped out of his grasp. It was almost as if Kester was the one that was tackled.
Bears will have 2nd and 9 on their own 32. Clock is moving down towards the half. Double wide right. Harmon looking to get outside. He does. 1st down. Harmon close to the 45.
And tremendous blocking again on the left side. Saw Rob Perez, 76 out there, along with Sean Smith, 75. Sofoconic, 62. And Gene Kammer, 59. Did we miss anybody? That was the whole line for East Brunswick.
Just the bench. All right, the Bears moving once again. They have a 14-point lead, 14-0, 4:28 to go in the 2nd period. 1st and 10 at their own 45. Trent wide right. Forte still has it, looking. He dumps it over to DeVito, and Joe DeVito will pick up 8 yards.
And Scully making a picture book tackle. That is exactly how you're supposed to make a tackle.
Right, if it wasn't for the fact that Joey had a good grasp on that ball, that would have been a fumble.
Right.
Or probably an incomplete pass. Anyway.
All right, let's give DeVito 7 yards, so it'll be 2nd and 3. But the ball is in Cedar Ridge territory once again. Ball at the Cedar Ridge 48. Drew and Trent are split wide. Fake into the line. Forte still has it. And he's going to be thrown for a loss.
First time Brian's been sacked tonight.
I believe that's Mike Doherty, I believe. We don't have a number for him.
Well, unless he's 5'5", 125 pounds,
Yeah,
it can't be him.
Must be Sean
Barantino. We really don't know.
Yeah. Nice aggressive play hour.
And that puts East Brunswick back in deep position now.
They're back at their own 41. 3rd and let's call it 14. Forte looking. He's got Trent. Trent breaks free for the first down. Trent fights his way to the East Brunswick 20. Let's call it the 30, I'm sorry.
I tell you, we've gotten used to that by now with Trent, but let's give the soccer program some credit. When those quick feet came from playing soccer, the movement that you have to do when you play soccer and whatnot, you have to have very quick feet. He's developed those feet in soccer, and he's put it to good use on the football field.
And a 30-yard gain for Ramon, most of it on his own, but Forte drilling it to him.
All right, the Bears 1st and 10 on their own 29. Harmon. Big hole. Harmon's still on his feet.
And you notice Mark covering that ball with both hands now. He realizes that the ball's slick.
And Mark picks up 8 yards.
Bears hoping to get this touchdown in before the end of the half.
And we're inside of 2 minutes. Bears looking to extend their 14-point lead. 2nd and 2. The ball on the Cedar Ridge 21. Brunig on the same play he scored just a few minutes ago. And the ball is loose.
Squirts out again, but the whistle blew.
Timeout. And let's see if they give him the first down.
And maybe East Brunswick should also call timeout.
And they're going to bring the chains across.
Okay.
So with 1:32 to go here in the second period, the Bears are on top 14-0 as they bring the chains across, looking to put on some additional points.
And the Bears have all 3 timeouts left, so they still, clock shouldn't be a factor.
And I have to say, Jimmy and Phil, I'm a little surprised at the dominance being displayed by East Brunswick.
I am too. We mentioned Cedar Ridge is not that bad of a team. They held some pretty good clubs in the GMC, most notably J.P. Stevens, to that 9-7 game. And I think East Brunswick is just playing a heck of a game so far.
Oh, it's not to take anything away from the Bears. First down, so again, Brunig. And Forte calls timeout. East Brunswick's first.
I'll tell you that East Brunswick could come into this game in any number of ways, one of 2 ways. And certainly one would be overconfident and taking Cedar Ridge for granted, which they haven't, or they could come in supremely confident. And I believe that's what that J.P. Stevens victory has done for them. They feel really good about themselves. They feel that they really have arrived as a team and just confident they can do what they want to do, and they're pretty much doing that today. We remember that Cedar Ridge played Perth Amboy well and played J.P. Stevens extremely well. So East Brunswick's just playing good ball.
East Brunswick statistician Bill Munyon, who is with us tonight in the booth, points out that East Brunswick has 128 yards on the ground so far. So, and Brian has only had to go through the air 6 times, completed, 7 times, completed 7 of those. One, of course, was a loss, so we don't have his net yardage yet.
All right, so it'll be 1st and 10 for the Bears at the Cedar Ridge 19. 1:17 to go before half. Forte dropping, being pressured, gets away from one tackler. Flag is down. He's got DeVito at the 5. DeVito cut up, and another flag is thrown.
Well, take your pick.
All for naught.
Right. First of all, there was a holding penalty in the backfield. Brian was in the grasp of a Cedar Ridge player, and apparently a Bear was holding him, and that allowed Brian to get away. He drilled it to DeVito, and then as Joey was trying to get to the end zone, we had another, either a clip or a hold.
A clear clip, Jimmy, a very clear clip. The official standing right on top of it.
You know, all this goes for naught, but I'll tell you what, a great exhibition of Brian Forte's ability to throw the ball. Rifled the ball on a line down to DeVito. Found his open receiver.
Well, you saw the officials call both a holding and a clipping penalty. And so they'll take the one that hurts the most, as we've mentioned in the past, and that'll move East Brunswick back to their own 42-yard line.
Right, the penalty being marked off from the spot of the foul, which was behind the line of scrimmage to begin with. So we ought to see some aerial fireworks here.
It's 1st and goal from their own 41.
Look at this, 3 receivers to the left.
Forte rolls left, got room, plants, throws down the middle for Brunig, overthrown. Rolling to his left, Forte throws back to his right.
I'll tell you, a new formation. I don't think we've seen that before. They were lined up sort of like an I formation out on the wing there. 3 receivers all going out to the left, and Brunig breaking to the right, Forte throwing back to the right and just missing.
Let me correct myself. East Brunswick can get a first down. They have to get to the 9-yard line. So it'll be 2nd down and 31 for the Bears. 59 seconds remain. Trent right, Giroux to the left. Forte drops straight back. Pumps, sets, throws deep down the middle for Harmon. Intercepted. Flynn with the interception right at the goal line.
Right.
But where's the flag?
No interference call, and that's what we've been waiting for.
I'll tell you, clearly the Cedar Ridge defender, and Mark Harmon's talking to the official, clearly pushed him off from the ball. Clearly.
Well, if there's a positive note to this, it's that Cedar Ridge has the ball on their own half-yard line. And East Brunswick has 2 timeouts left, so if they had 3, they probably could force the Cougars to kick the ball, but I think Cedar Ridge would do well to just let the clock wind down and end this half.
All right, the clock is running. We're down to 40 seconds. Ball is on the half-yard line. And Starner will keep it, trying to buy some room. Clock down to 25. And East Brunswick will call their 2nd timeout.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to do any good. So we mentioned that East Brunswick, 128 yards on the ground. And that yardage is well distributed tonight.
I'll tell you, the thing that's really been impressive is just how well their defense has come along. We were so very critical of them in the early part of the year, but they have just done a fine job in the last few games.
Right. Mark Harmon, I believe, is the leading ball carrier with 57 yards. And he is nearing the 1,000-yard mark.
It seems like 1,000 miles.
Doesn't it? Just a junior. Let's see what he had coming into this game.
I'll tell you, Jimmy, I got a quiz for you. Speaking of 1,000 miles, we had 6 East Brunswick teachers running the New York Marathon.
Who were they?
Maybe you can name them for me
Well,
later.
I know that Frank Knottenberger, the basketball coach, was one of them.
Right.
Jack Brophy was another.
Okay.
We better pick up the play here.
All right, Cedar Ridge, 2nd and about 7. And Starner keeps it again, down to 17 seconds. East Brunswick will call timeout.
Harry Morris?
Harry wouldn't run across the street. No.
No, you can name the other 4.
I don't know. Pellegrino was
oh,
certainly
yeah.
one.
Okay, Coach Pellegrino.
And 3 other young fellows ran. I really can't tell you. But
Bossamello, Christensen, and did we say Brophy?
Sid Jack Brophy,
okay.
yeah.
Bossamello and Christensen. I don't know who
did they all finish?
I don't know, Phil. Tell you the
I'll
truth.
tell you, a lot of guts, however they entered. I've always dreamed about running one, but never had enough courage to work towards one.
Clock was stopped with 15 seconds. It's 3rd and 3 for Cedar Ridge when they come back over the ball, Jim.
Okay, by the way, 851 yards for Mark Harmon coming into this game career-wise. So the 57, well, he probably will go over that 1,000-yard mark in the Cerebral game.
And we'll see what Cedar Ridge decides to do. They've ran 2 quarterback sneaks. And Starner will do it again, and they just want to get out of this half, trailing 14-0. Clock is now running down to 7 seconds. And that should be it for the first half here. East Brunswick and Cedar Ridge, the Bears on top, 14-0. And gentlemen, any comments?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think East Brunswick did what it had to. It established its running game early on, and ball was well distributed to running backs Mark Harmon, Brunig, Joe DeVito, and even Matt Miller got in the act with a 5-yard touchdown run there. That gave him the first score. But I think it's East Brunswick's defense, again, is playing a great game. Cedar Ridge, we mentioned, is not that bad of a team. They have some good quality players, and you're not seeing it on the field tonight, and I think that's attributed to East Brunswick's ability to come in here and play the type of game that we know it can.
I think they're being rather conservative in that they're not showing a lot of stuff, John. I think simply because they don't feel they have to at this juncture of the game, but they're playing good all-around ball.
All right, so at the half, it's 14-0 East Brunswick in a game that is being totally dominated by the Bears. And we'll be back with the second half in just a moment. Well, welcome back for the second half of this East Brunswick Cedar Ridge High School football game. The Bears are on top, 14-0. And Jimmy and Phil, we were talking right before the end of the half about the dominance of the Bears team, and I think what really points that out is the fact that, at least to my knowledge, Cedar Ridge has not made a first down this evening.
Right, and they haven't had any success on the ground or through the air. And it's the East Brunswick defense, which did a fine job against Perth Amboy 2 weeks ago in that 12-0 shutout. And I think we can't discount the fact that that 20 points that they gave up to Stevens, except for a couple of flashes that the Hawks had, I think the Bears did a great job. They did it in a critical situation. They're continuing that on, and Marcus Borden, I know, is quite proud of how his defense has really started to come around. They had their problems in the early season games, especially against Cherokee, and they really haven't made that monumental mistake that's been able to hurt them.
Well, I think one thing that we've seen, and we've talked about, I know, between the three of us, is that we're seeing the gelling of both the offense and the defense at the right time.
Right. They're peaking. They're peaking.
One thing I want to point out, I don't know if Pete, our cameraman, can get it, but you see that sign, Fools, and we talked about it last week at the Stevens game. And let me give you some background on that. I talked with Harry Morris before the game, and Fools stands for Fraternity of Offensive Linemen. And what it is, it's a little group that they have going where they award after each game a shirt to that lineman who has had an outstanding game. They're very hard to come by, according to Harry. You really have to have an outstanding game to qualify for a shirt. And apparently these guys love it and are competing heavily for the shirt each week. Well, so that's what it stands for.
I'll tell you, I'm glad to hear that explanation, John, because I was thinking of all sorts of things. I thought maybe J.P. Stevens had played a trick on him a few years ago or so, and this was supposed to be the paybacks, and I didn't think that belonged in high school football. So I'm glad to hear that.
That's real. It's real good. Statistically speaking, we mentioned that the Bears have 128 yards on the ground, and that is distributed with Mark Harmon having 57 yards. Brunig is the player that has carried the ball the most for East Brunswick. He has 2, 4, 6, 7 carries for 47 yards. Forte, with his scrambling, was able to get a net 18 yards. Joe DeVito had 8 yards. And Matt Miller, of course, the 5-yarder for a touchdown. In the passing department, Forte threw the ball 9 times that half. It didn't seem like it, but he connected on 5 of them for 57 yards, with Ramon Trent's 30-yard scamper after that mid-range pass being the most for the evening. Potter has 1 for 13. Drew has 1 for 8. So all in all, a well-balanced offensive effort for East Brunswick this half.
Well, we'll see what happens to start the second half off. Cedar Ridge won the coin toss and declined to receive. East Brunswick then obviously took the ball, but all right, Cedar Ridge will receive to start the second half. And I wasn't sure how that works. I thought maybe East Brunswick would still have the option since Cedar Ridge declined the original option.
And I tell you, Cedar Ridge is probably gone in the locker room, and at least they have to figure out some way to get that ball to Shannon Stark with some room, whether it's throwing a ball, a pass in the flat, or whatever. They have to get him some breathing room so he can do his thing.
Lots of luck.
So
Lots of luck.
So the Bears will take their 14-0 lead out here for the second half. Josh Miller will kick it off. And back deep for Cedar Ridge, we expect Lazarski, number 25, and Starks, number 24.
John, while I have a quick moment, I was talking to Dan Haston, the East Brunswick boys soccer coach. He tells me that Freehold Township, which was seated second in the Central Jersey Group 4 playoffs, was knocked off by Middletown North. And Middletown North now, Tuesday, will be the East Brunswick opponent.
In the state playoffs?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so Josh Miller to get things underway here, the second half. This will be Starks at about his own 5-yard line. And he'll cross the 20.
Great kick by Josh Miller. In a distance, same with the distance, he was able to get good height on the ball, and Starks was really able to get taken off.
So we'll see what Cedar Ridge has done in terms of halftime strategy as they start off this third period on offense. They have yet to pick up a first down, as we mentioned. They come out with their I formation. Starner looking to put it up in the air, looking deep. And the ball just off the hands of number 10.
Wow.
That's Giles, and Mark Harmon got a little confused back there.
One of the few times that I've seen Mark Harmon. Oh, we have a penalty, John. It looks like a clip back there. That would have been brought back anyway. Unfortunate for Cedar Ridge. But, yeah, you're right. Mark was a little bit confused. That's one of the rare times I've seen him.
Well, the Cedar Ridge quarterback did a nice play action fake and then put the ball up. Hit the receiver in a bad place, hit him right in the hands. He should have caught it.
I hope we have another opportunity to see Harmon play defensive back. I've been maintaining that I think as much as Mark Harmon is a fabulous offensive player, that as he moves on and is being looked at seriously in college, I just think his defensive reactions are just so tremendous that he would make an excellent defensive back in college.
Well, I think you're right on the money, Jim.
All right, so it'll be first down and 23 for the Cougars after the penalty. And the ball on their own 11. And Starks taking a lot of punishment to get back to the line of scrimmage.
And that penalty really has to hurt Cedar Ridge.
There's John Flynn again on the tackle, along with Chetta Rosaria. Or is it Rosaria Chetta? Okay.
I was wondering, that didn't sound right at first.
We'll forgive you, Phil.
Right.
Second and 23 for the Cougars. And I don't know what you call on this down. Here's a pitch to Starks. And he'll pick up 4 or 5 yards, but it's going to be a big third down again for Cedar Ridge.
Okay, a little unnecessary extracurricular activity, and we hope that stops right away.
Well, Matt Miller is a very mature player, and he swiped at Starks. I don't think Matt would be countering unless something happened down there that we didn't see.
So we'll call it 3rd and 17 for the Cougars. The ball now on their own 16-yard line. Starner dropping back, looking, being pressured. There's Flynn. Flynn, and he throws it away. And they're going to call it an incomplete pass.
Well, if it is, I'll tell you what, he's getting the benefit of the doubt on that. That should have been a fumble. And fortunately, it's going to go back to the line of scrimmage for Cedar Ridge. I'd like to see that one again.
Really?
That was a very suspect call.
And John Flynn, once again, showing his tremendous speed and just his tremendous savvy. He's around the ball all the time.
So Cedar Ridge comes up with a big break, quite honestly. And they'll face a 4th down. They'll punt it away. And they have yet to pick up a 1st down.
Again, East Brunswick's going to get the ball in good field position.
Brunig and Harmon standing at the Cedar Ridge 45-yard line. Flynn gets off a good kick. Harmon will field it at his own 43, reverses to Brunig.
There,
the wall is set up.
He's got a wall.
Ooh. Brunig needs 1 block. And he's taken down by Flynn about the 10-yard line.
And the East Brunswick Jesse James gang does its job.
I'll tell you, and Dave Goldstein strung out his block as long as he could, trying to push off the much larger defender, and the guy just sprung off that block to make the tackle.
And a flag against Cedar Ridge. Procedure is declined, so it'll be 1st down for the Bears. And they're knocking at the door once again.
Billy just missing his 2nd touchdown reception on a punt return.
Well, you just have to like the execution. We've seen it time and time again where they've set up that wall and picked up extremely good yardage.
1st and 10 for the Bears. 1st and goal. Actually, the ball is on the 10-yard line. Split backfield. Giroux and Trent wide right. This is DeVito. He'll take it up the middle, close to the 5-yard line.
Hard yards there for Joe.
All right, they spotted at the Cedar Ridge 8. 2nd and goal for the Bears. Again, Trent and Drew go wide right. And a flag is thrown.
And that could have been too much time. I didn't quite get that.
He called it quick. I believe it's a delay of game.
Okay. Since high school football does not have a so-called 25-second clock, you don't see that call too often.
All right, the ball will be spotted at the Cedar Ridge 13 now. 2nd and goal once again. This is Brunig right up the middle. Billy Brunig in for the score.
Well, not quite, John. It looked like it.
Fine run by Brunig. I thought he was in.
Well, we just can't see those yard markers down there.
He's about on the 1-foot line.
He's close. He's close. And it looks like East Brunswick can still pick up a 1st down without going in. He's just short. Good call there. Everybody expecting pass, and a handoff right up the middle.
All right, from about the 1-foot line, the Bears will try to punch it in. This is Miller. Did he get in?
No.
No, they say he's short, but he might have the 1st down.
That's right, John.
I'll tell you, his knee went down, and the official called it.
They're going to bring out the chains, and I think they're going to have to measure in centimeters here, because that is close from what we can see from up here.
And a kind of a nice gesture, though. Gesture there, allowing Matt Miller the opportunity to get his second touchdown.
Well, he's played just super on defense, and after playing offense all of last year and not much at all this year, it is a nice gesture.
Oh, that's close.
And they're short. I'm really a little confused by all this.
Well, it's a game of inches down there.
So it'll be 4th and the length of a football for a score and less than that for a first down.
And Forte may take it himself.
Everyone's bunched up in tight, although Trent is wide left. This is Miller. He's in for the score now. East Brunswick. Matt Miller putting the 20th point on the board for the Bears. No doubt about that one.
Right. I think Cedar Ridge was expecting, as Phil mentioned, Brian Forte to keep the ball. And that whole left side was open for Matt. And he gets his second touchdown of the evening, second this year.
So with 8:02 to go, the Bears are on the board here in the third period. Josh Miller looking to make it 21-0. And it's through the uprights. So the Bears, again, having an easy time of it.
I'll tell you.
And that's the type of touchdown that really can put this game out of reach right now. 14 points was a possibility for Cedar Ridge if it could get its offense going. And the Bear defense came up with the big plays, and that penalty for Cedar Ridge really hurt them. So it's going to be a long way up for Cedar Ridge tonight.
And we talked about Marcus Borden doing some things that he wouldn't ordinarily do. I think, as we pointed out, the nice gesture there of giving both of those touchdowns to Matt Miller. He scored one more touchdown than he scored it ever. He's only has 3 touchdowns in his total career, and he scored 2 tonight. So, again, a reward for somebody that's been working hard on defense and being a good leader all the way around.
All right, let me ask you guys, if you're Marcus Borden now, do you pull out the first team and let some of these other players get some experience?
Well, there's 2 schools of thoughts. One says you want to keep your players as sharp as possible and maintain your wind as well for the playoffs, and the other, of course, is, hey, let's give some of the younger players.
I agree with you, Phil, but, well, there's nothing to agree with. But I would tend to think that East Brunswick could probably put one more on the board, John.
Miller, this is Starks right at the 1-yard line. He's coming right up the middle with it. And he'll be close to the 15-yard line, I believe.
I think East Brunswick probably could afford to keep the first team in for one more score and then sort of call off the troops. 21 points is a comfortable lead at this time, 21-0. But certainly, you know, I mean, last week was a good example. We had 28 points scored in 1 quarter by both East Brunswick and J.P. Stevens.
Yes, but Cedar Ridge hasn't scored a first down.
That's correct. That's correct. No, I don't. But by the way, who is the second-string quarterback for East Brunswick now?
I think it's Troy White.
Okay.
My concern is, too, the field is in very poor shape, and you could be risking some injuries here. Anyways, Cedar Ridge starts off 1st and 10 on their own 21. Here's Starks, and Starks may lose a yard. I'll tell you, if I'm the Cedar Ridge coaching staff, I don't know what to do at this point.
It's very disheartening for the Cougars at this point. East Brunswick is playing with a lot of confidence now, and they can take some chances that they normally wouldn't, even on the pass play.
Well, 2 things are evident to me anyway. East Brunswick's bigger and stronger, and that's really shown at the line of scrimmage.
And better.
Yeah, and quicker. That's
good better. I mean, that's the bottom line.
All right, we're down to 6:59. It's 2nd and 12 for the Cougars. Ball on their own 19. Starner looking, rolling right. He's got some time. Can't find anyone. Finally puts it up in the air, and it's batted away by Brunig.
Nice play by Brunig. Cedar Ridge flooded that side of the field with 3 receivers, and Starner had all he could do to keep out of Flynn's reach.
So, what more can we say? 3rd down again for Cedar Ridge.
Wouldn't this be something if the Bears could hold Cedar Ridge to no first downs? I know it's quite early, but the Cougars are going to have some sort of miracle comeback here to get something going.
3rd and 12 from their 19. Shotgun formation for the Cougars. Starks goes in motion. Starner being pressured again, puts it up. Reception to Scully, but he's going to be about 7 yards short of the first.
They had the right idea on that play, but Scully had to come back for that pass, and that was enough for East Brunswick's defense to recover. And a familiar sight again.
Well, I'll tell you, Flynn is getting enough punting practice tonight.
Right. And if you can watch him on this punt, you'll notice the way he drops the ball. It's not a fluid motion, and this is sometimes why you will get a mishap, the ball going off the side of the foot. He sort of lets it just hang there rather than sort of meeting the ball.
I got a feeling East Brunswick's going to try to come after him, just to try it, if for no other reason. They're very close to him each time. Harmon and Brunig are back deep. Snap. He gets it off. This will be Harmon at his own 40. Taken right down. Nice play by Scully.
He was down there. That was a line drive.
I'll tell you, Scully's come alive. He's been involved in several good plays lately.
Well, he's a good wrestler. I know that. Cedar Ridge, one of the better wrestling teams in the Greater Middlesex Conference Red Division. As a matter of fact, in all of the GMC.
Well, Jimmy, I usually mention some names of past stars. I can't seem to think of any for Cedar Ridge. Can you?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about the Cedar Ridge stars of the past. I guess it's getting close to that time now where we need to do that.
1st and 10 for the Bears on their own 38. Trent Drew wide right. Harmon. And Mark gets back to the line of scrimmage, maybe picks up a yard.
And as we watch this drive going down the field, Cedar Ridge at one time, and this is going back a number of years, 1973, had one of the top teams in the state. They were only in about their 4th, 5th year of football, but they finished 9-0. Had one of the best quarterbacks I ever saw on a high school field, John Finn, play. He never made it in college, but what a great passer he was.
All right, let's call it 2nd and 9 for the Bears. Forte calling out signals. Looking to put it up in the air. He's got plenty of time, and he's got Giroux, and just overthrows him.
And that was a timing pattern, Phil.
A timing pattern, and actually a nice pass. Slightly overthrown.
Just missed it. Getting back to that Cedar Ridge team of 73, you had players such as Kevin Moore in the backfield. John Wording, I think, was another quality player. And a lot of good coaches came out of that. Tony Ascentino, the present Bishop Bar coach, was an assistant for that team.
A wealth of knowledge.
It's called memory, that's all.
3rd and 9 for the Bears on their own 39. Forte looking, plenty of time. Lofts it up for Giroux again. He's got it this time, 1st down.
What a same thing, except to the opposite, or rather coming this way.
It's the same play. I'll tell you, we talked about it earlier that Steve Hughes had the great touch. Brian Forte is developing that touch.
So the Bears move into Cedar Ridge territory again. 4:47 to go in the 3rd period. They lead 21-0. And I've got to think, at least on the mind of the defense, they want a shutout here. They want their 2nd of the year. All right, Giroux and Trent go wide left. DeVito with the ball. He's got some running room. Joey DeVito picks up another 1st down. Close to the Cedar Ridge 30.
And Scully again on the tackle. Good hard tackle.
They'll spot it at the Cedar Ridge 33, so it'll be 1st and 10 for the Bears.
Gentlemen, just counting. Well, okay, we'll pick this up in a second. They're getting off the ball real quick.
Harmon. Mark breaks away from the pack. Harmon's going to go in for the score. And he's coming up limping.
Oh, you got to watch that there. That could be a hamstring. Let's keep our eyes on that one.
Mark Harmon, 33 yards for East Brunswick score.
Well, we've been expecting something like that for some time. Mark Harmon is a streaky runner, breaks into the line, continues to use his power, broke out of the pack, hit to the sidelines, and went down for a touchdown. Just fine running.
That at the 4-minute mark. He doesn't seem to be
Phil Hostler's over there looking at him. As you see Josh Miller on your screen, Josh will try to put the 28th point on the board. And he does. So the Bears now lead 28-0.
Before we had that play, gentlemen, John,
I just want to say 4 minutes to go here in the third period.
I was going to say, I can't think of a better performance for East Brunswick this year. Discounting Cedar Ridge not having the best of all records, we felt that they were a quality club and having played well against other teams in the GMC, but East Brunswick just is steamrolling over Cedar Ridge at this point.
Well, I think the greater concern right now is Mark Harmon.
Well, I put my binoculars on him, John. It doesn't appear to be a hamstring. It appears maybe the ankle may have given a little bit, but he was walking a lot better than we saw him earlier. So,
well, there's no need to put him back in either tonight.
You would think not. However, he is part of the first team defensive unit, and I know the Bears want a shutout in this game.
All right, Josh Miller will crank it up once again. And a fine kick. This is going to be Lazarski at about the 3-yard line. And he looks like a little water bug out there. Taken down at about the 10-yard line.
Yeah, that's Jay Dunham, 21 for East Brunswick.
I'll tell you, it's sort of dangerous. The first time we've seen the Jesse James gang be a little reckless. Of course, Miller is the last line of defense if somebody should break away, but usually you have the person that contains as well. There was nobody containing on that side.
And I noticed that Goldstein is in for Mark Harmon in the backfield now for East Brunswick, so apparently board and resting Mark.
All right, 1st and 10 for Cedar Ridge. Starner looking at quick looking pass. Flag is thrown. Blahoda on the reception.
And if that's against Cedar Ridge, I'll tell you what, it's a snake-bitten team. It was one of the first opportunities they had for a first. Well, it's close to a first. It's
an interference call against East Brunswick.
So Cedar Ridge should take advantage of this.
And believe it or not, it'll give them their first down of the evening.
Unearned.
Yeah, it looks a little short, John. What do you think? Looks like they're about a yard shy.
Well, we'll see where they mark the penalty. The penalty could give it to them. They're short as it stands now.
Right. I think it's with a defensive holding. Is it a 5-yard penalty, Phil?
Yep.
Okay, so they probably will take the play, and they're going to measure.
Good God! You're down 28-0.
This is the worst field in the conference for trying to. Number one, as far as the condition is concerned, but just trying to determine where the ball is. It's a guessing game up here.
Well, I'll say this. I'll get on my soapbox for a moment. Obviously, it doesn't help us. But in terms of, just a lack of courtesy for the fans watching, both on the Cedar Ridge side or Madison Central side, as the case may be, and the visitor side, you really have no idea where that ball is on the field.
Well, this field, Vince Lombardi Field, simply because Cedar Ridge and Madison Central, we saw them earlier here this year, plays. It takes a lot more abuse, but I don't think there's any excuse for allowing the field to get this way. And I understand that at the end of this season, perhaps the Madison Central and Cedar Ridge coaches en masse are going to try to do something about this field. We'll have to wait and see.
We've heard that before.
Yeah. Well, I think the coaches may take it into their own hands this time.
All right, so Cedar Ridge gets their first down of the game, and that comes with 3:20 to go here in the third period, and it comes via a penalty. So they've broken the stalemate from that perspective, and they have a 1st and 10 on their own 33. And Starner, being pressured, gets away, puts it up, and almost intercepted by Goldstein.
Right, he was back there. And this is what Cedar Ridge is going to have to do for the remainder of this evening if they expect to move down the field and get it on the board.
So it'll be 2nd and 10 for the Cougars.
By the way, Trenton, if we can talk about the playoffs. Well, here we go on this play, John.
All right, we'll see what the Cougars come out with. Starner, quick look in to number 35, and that's Labissi, Ron Labissi.
And I think what's apparent is that East Brunswick's going to give Cedar Ridge that short pass. Just don't want the long one to be completed. I was mentioning about Trenton, one of the playoff teams. They're undefeated, but I understand that they're going to have next Friday night, they will be playing Notre Dame, which is 6-0, and that will make it or break it for the Tornadoes as far as their ability to qualify for the playoffs.
Well,
they just don't have enough power points,
right,
Phil.
they were bemoaning the fact that they can't help it that they beat some teams that didn't have good records, but it also has to deal with the strength of the teams themselves. So.
Right. So another team that could be in contention is Piscataway, which is currently 5-1. They have a similar dilemma in that they play some Group 3 and 2 teams in the Mid-State Conference, but they may be able to edge their way in.
And speaking of in, they'll be in the red division next year.
Yes, they will.
Well, gentlemen, while you were talking, some history was made. Cedar Ridge picked up their 2nd first down. This one they earned. Little mix-up in about. Oh, my God.
Loose ball.
Starner gets hit, picked up by
Mark Flynn.
Flynn.
And that's a touchdown, John.
East Brunswick. I didn't see the ball come loose, quite honestly.
Yeah, there was a number of players in front of us, and apparently when that hit was made, I don't know who made the hit.
I'll tell you.
The ball bounded in the air. Flynn just picked it right up and went.
Matt Miller.
Matt Miller, 46.
Miller on a ferocious hit.
And I don't even have the yardage on that one.
It was from the 29-yard line, so Flynn with the fumble recovery rambles in, and now the score is East Brunswick 34, Cedar Ridge nothing. And with that score, the Trenton High School coaches have left the stadium.
Probably thinking that East Brunswick can't pass.
Miller puts the foot and misses wide right.
Okay. So there goes Miller's string. He was perfect last week in all 4 East Brunswick touchdowns, and he had 4 here.
So the Bears, with 2:09 to go in the 3rd period, are on top 34-0.
And I guess this game is pretty much over, gentlemen.
Well, Jim, what did you do on your summer vacation?
Well, we can talk about next week's opponent, Saraville, which is winless at 0-6. And I think that's about all we can say about that one, because the Bombers are probably the weakest team in the red division.
That's your buddy, Milt Theodatus.
Yeah, my buddy, all right. I have to say, though, I do have a lot of respect for Theodosidis and his ability to maintain a positive attitude, if you will, in the face of some rather difficult circumstances over in Saraville. They just don't get the number of players out, and quality isn't there. Yet I had an opportunity to talk to a couple of their players, Matt Fulham and Jeff Nagel, and they were genuinely thankful that they were able to play football for Saraville, and that says something in the face of a losing season.
All right, Josh Miller boots it off. Starks at about the 4. Starks up the middle, has some running room if he can keep his feet. Starks brings it back to his own 45-yard line. And that's the biggest play of the evening for Cedar Ridge.
That's the most fans have had to cheer about, but that's the type of speed Shannon Stark has, and he got bumped by one of his own men to push him up for some extra yards, and if he could have got past one East Brunswick defender, he could have been gone.
And we're starting to see a couple of new faces in East Brunswick's defensive lineup. I see more Joe Giroux got up rather slowly on that. And we'll have to identify some of these faces as we see them.
All right, Cedar Ridge, 1st and 10 at their own 46-yard line. Starner dropping back, looking, pumping. He's got no one to dump it off to, and almost intercepted by Sean Smith, which would have made his year if he picked that one off.
Right.
Look at him, right in his hands there, my God.
Well, yeah, you get all that tape and gook and everything else that a defensive lineman puts on his hands. Sometimes ball's right in his hands, and out it goes. 28, Brian Donahue is in for East Brunswick in the defensive backfield, and he's joined by Jay Dunham, number 21, who's been seeing some action.
All right, 2nd and 10 for Cedar Ridge. And you better believe they're not going to let Smith forget that. Anyway, fine play by Sean. Shotgun formation. Starner sends Starks in motion.
Blitz.
He dumps it off. He gets it off to Scully. And Scully will pick up a first down.
And Dave Goldstein on a fine tackle, however.
And that looks like a first down.
Well, they're going to pick up some yards, Jim. They, as we said, East Brunswick has some of the substitute players in there, so I think it works out well for both of them. Cedar Ridge gets to move a little bit, and East Brunswick gets to test some of the younger players.
Right. And I see another defensive lineman, number 95, Dennis Barskas.
All right, the Cougars, 1st and 10 on the East Brunswick 44. Starner still has it, being pressured. He throws it away.
Well, they tried that same screen pass.
Joe DeVito putting the pressure on him.
Joe DeVito on defense.
And I think if Coach Borden had his druthers, he'd like to see DeVito on defense more.
You know, Joey's had problems, not many people know, with his arches, falling arches, and that can be very bothersome. And he's had problems with them from the beginning of the year, so they've used him mostly on offense. But I know Joey DeVito would be a great defensive player if he played regular.
2nd and 10, 52 seconds to go here in the 3rd period. Cedar Ridge trailing 34-0. This is Starks. Big hole, some nice moves, and he'll pick up the first down.
And you see some of the fine running ability of Shannon Starks, by the way, who is only a junior. He will be back for Cedar Ridge.
He does have some quick moves, Jimmy, and as we were saying, Cedar Ridge's job was to get him a little space for the second half. They haven't been too successful in an hour.
New face, number 39 for East Brunswick in the defensive backfield, Ted Lunig, who is a sophomore.
Ball at the East Brunswick 32, Cougars 1st and 10. Mounting their first serious threat of the evening. Starner being pressured, he's going to be dropped for a loss.
And that's Chetta in there, is it? 61. Rosario Chetta.
Rosario Chetta. You got to like that name.
And he's going off the field.
Well, it's an opportunity for us to recognize some of the other players on East Brunswick's team. As the 3rd period comes to an end and East Brunswick enjoying a 34-0 lead.
Well, gentlemen, I would have to say this is the first game this year that we might label it as a blowout, so to speak. I think when we first talked in our preseason show, we had thought that East Brunswick would have a cakewalk through the GMC Red Division other than playing the traditional rivals such as JP Stevens, and it just hasn't been that way this year.
Well, they've matured, though, over the long haul. They were really shaky, as we pointed out at the beginning of the year. They played a super game against Cherokee, but after that fell off quite a bit. And now, Jimmy, they just really have rounded into form. Marcus Borden has got to be pleased because he has them right where he would want them at this time of the year.
Right. And we need to mention that after tonight, with this victory well in hand, having secured the top seed, the NJSIAA only considers the first 8 games of the year. East Brunswick is sort of ahead of most other teams in playoff contention, having opened up a week early at Cherokee. So they already will have their 8 games under their belt, 7-1 record.
All right, 2nd and 20 for Cedar Ridge. The ball on the East Brunswick 40. Starner looking, being pressured, gets away. He's got a man over the middle. That's Flynn around the 10-yard line.
Very, very nice play by the quarterback Starner, staying in the pocket, moving up when East Brunswick was penetrating.
Flynn comes down at the 13-yard line, so it's 1st and 10 for the Cougars, and they're threatening East Brunswick shutout as we start the 4th period. Starner hands it off to Starks.
And he's going to get caught.
And he's going nowhere. No one in front to help him block.
Just a host of East Brunswick tacklers.
Entire team for East Brunswick over there on that play. Just total aggressiveness. And probably indicative of the way the team has been approaching each game. They want this shutout, and nobody's taking it easy out there.
Well, I'll tell you, Doug O'Connell wants this touchdown as much as Marcus Borden would like to keep him off the board.
Starks loses five. It's 2nd and 15. Ball now on the East Brunswick 19. Starner goes in shotgun formation. Stark goes in motion. Steps up in the pocket, dumps it off to Scully. And Scully down to the 10-yard line, or inside the 10, I'm not sure.
And John, they can get a first down without getting the touchdown.
All right, they spot it at the East Brunswick 8. 3rd and 5 for the first.
Temperature's starting to drop.
My feet have been telling me that.
Since the first quarter, John.
Third down, Starner looking, lofts it for the corner of the end zone for Flynn. And it's a touchdown, Cedar Ridge, so they get on the board and break the shutout.
So another Flynn gets a touchdown. This time it's the Cedar Ridge Flynn, Ken Flynn.
And while Marcus Borden didn't want to give up that touchdown, I just don't think he's very, very upset about it. These young players are getting a chance to be tested, and it really doesn't hurt them.
Well, fans getting into it here.
Fill in for the extra point. And he gets it through. 34-7 now. East Brunswick over Cedar Ridge.
And Jim, I tell you, as you see the pom-poms by the cheerleaders, Cedar Ridge cheerleaders down there, I tell you, I had a fun-filled Halloween. I had a special visitor come to my door.
I knew this was coming.
And it turned out to be a cheerleader.
Is that a fact?
A rough-looking cheerleader, very had a little unshaven and so forth. Turned out to be none other than our friend John. You want to talk about a laugh here?
Yeah, but what a pair of legs.
What a pair of legs. He goes, "Are you Phil Hill?" And I says, "Yes." And he starts, "Give me a P, give me an H." And I said, "Wait a minute, I know that voice." Dressed up in full cheerleader gear with a wig on, and boy, did we die. we had a super time.
So that's how you spent your Saturday night, John.
I tell you, he's a good sport. He's a good sport.
That's how I spend every Saturday night. Oh, well. You can tell East Brunswick's way out in front. 34-7 with 10:21 to go here in the game. And they'll be receiving for only the second time this evening. Probably an onside. You're right, Jim. It's got to go 10 yards.
It can go 10.
And East Brunswick can take the ball right there.
And they will. Oh, it went out of bounds.
Well, the flag is simply to amplify on the fact that the ball did not go 10 yards. So it is a penalty. I assume that East Brunswick can refuse that penalty and take the ball where it is.
Now they're going to let them kick over?
No, the kicking team is still out. We're not quite sure why.
Procedure against Cedar Ridge. Declined. First down, East Brunswick.
Right. And let's see who comes in at quarterback.
I'll tell you, both of them showed great presence and patience. Neither of them touched the ball. It hadn't gone 10 yards. Cedar Ridge knew they couldn't pick it up. And East Brunswick certainly didn't get near it neither.
Okay, we see Troy White, number 7, coming out on the field. He was next to Coach Borden, so let's assume that he's going to be.
And I happened to catch the Woodbridge East Brunswick JV game, and Troy White did an outstanding job quarterbacking the JV team.
Well,
very talented young man.
And just a sophomore.
Well, this is his first varsity snap from the ball.
And these are all new faces in for East Brunswick.
That's Donahue with the ball. And did he fumble it? No. They just drove him back.
And it doesn't look like he reached the line of scrimmage. Well, let's see where they mark it. Apparently just the line of scrimmage, John.
Okay, we'll call it 2nd and 10. The ball spotted at the Cedar Ridge 47-yard line.
It's Ken Mayer, number 1, going to the left side here.
White at quarterback. And motion's going to be called against number 86 for East Brunswick.
Right.
That is Todd Carlson playing tight end.
Young guys, just a little bit eager. I mean, this is their day in the sun out here on varsity level, and just a little eager.
A couple of other faces for East Brunswick. Mike Deutschman, number 78, and Dan Zolin, number 74. Those are both seniors. They're playing on the line.
So they'll move East Brunswick back 5 yards. It'll be 2nd and 15. White, a pitch to Goldstein. And Goldstein may get back to the line of scrimmage, maybe lose a yard. But the clock is running. Down to 9:20 in the game.
Another new face, flanker out there, number 11, Rich Feldman. He's a senior. So coach electing to give some of his seniors that don't see as much action some playing time. Jamie Wisniewski, number 92, who is a flanker, comes into the game.
3rd and 15 for White. Let's see if he puts it up in the air. And he'll roll right. Looking for someone. Gets it off.
Ooh.
Looking for number 92. That's Jamie Wisniewski. So East Brunswick will punt for only the 2nd time this evening. And number 5 will do the punting. That's Dan Levine.
I'll tell you, and I was getting ready to say, we saw a lot of players out there, but not Dan Levine. And he's going to be a very valuable tool for them next year. Dan Levine in JV ball has kicked a field goal of 36 yards. We knew he was a good kicker last year, and he's been patiently biding his time behind the tremendous Miller. So next year, Dan is going to be Dan Levine's time, and he's going to do a super job.
And he'll be playing with a state championship caliber team, too, so that may pay off.
All right, let's see what Dan can do on this punt. High snap. Gets it off. It gets off a fine kick. This is number 31, who we do not have in our program.
Let's just call him Mac Train. I mean, Mac Truck. He's
fine return. He brings it back in East Brunswick territory. So the Cougars, with 8:20 to go in the game, will try to get some additional points on the board. They trail 34-7.
And Miller and Ugar, the first-string linebackers in there.
We have a new quarterback for Cedar Ridge, number 11, Greg Bahan. And he hands it off to Starks. And Starks will pick up 5. So Cedar Ridge now making some changes.
And Starner, John, I'm looking down at the sidelines. He's bending over, and the Cedar Ridge trainer is looking at him. Apparently he might have injured his back. Putting some ice on it.
So call it 2nd and 5 for the Cougars. The ball at the East Brunswick 43. Pitch to Starks.
Ooh.
Starks showing some fine moves, breaks into the open.
He's gone.
He's going to score.
And there's some of the speed and running ability of Shannon Starks that we saw, that we knew that he had. Again, this is not the East Brunswick first-team defense here.
I'll tell you, but you can see his ability. He has what looks like the Gale Sayre squat and glide, and just tremendous balance for a young man, and just nice run. He's going to be a good one.
So Cedar Ridge on the board once again, their 13th point. And it looks like they're going to go for 2, and why not? Trailing 34-13.
And not all the players are on the field for Cedar Ridge.
So they'll have to call a timeout. Try to get organized here.
And Cedar Ridge knows it's late in the game, but it's still got to give him a lift to have Stark score like he did, even though it isn't against the front line of East Brunswick.
And Cedar Ridge, unlike past years, even though its record is 1-3-2 at this point, it's going to go to 1-4-2. The numbers are there, the size is there. You got I'm looking at this lineup. There's a lot of sophomores, a lot of youth on this team, and that's indicative of the enthusiasm that Doug O'Connell has been able to generate for this Cedar Ridge football team. Their program has been floundering for years. There was a period up until last year that they hadn't won a game in, oh God, I think 3 years. And then they finally notched a win against Sayreville, and now they're looking to get respectability back into their program, and this is just a step.
All right, Cedar Ridge has changed its mind and will go for the extra point. Gil Fallon. And he just gets it over for the 14th point. So East Brunswick's lead is cut to 20, 34-14. And we have 6:55 to go in this ball game.
Not too much more you can say, John.
No. I wish they'd let that clock run. It's a little nippy up here.
Well, we're hoping Mark Harmon's all right. I think that's all in the back of our mind. Just what type of injury it was. Was it just a slight sprain or what? I think we're all thinking about that. I'm trying to pick him up on the sidelines, but
Harmon, I believe, is out deep, Phil, to receive this kickoff.
Well, that answers our question then.
And he's the lone return man. Obviously, East Brunswick expecting the onside kick.
Well, you wonder if Forte is going to go back in the game. Doubt it. By the way, he was 6 for 11, 67 yards tonight. No touchdown passes.
And they'll kick it away, and so this will be Harmon. And so far, he looks good in terms of running on that ankle. Mark Harmon still on his feet. He'll be dragged down at about his own 40.
And Harmon is limping slightly on that leg.
I really question the need to put him in and risk having him field a kickoff. Really no sense to it with a 20-point lead.
Plus, he had cooled off a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, White's at quarterback. I believe this is Goldstein. No, it's number 40 for East Brunswick. That's Greg Rulo.
So another Rulo.
And we'll try to pick out these numbers of these new players as best we can for you. They deserve their recognition as well. You see Troy White directing the team from the line of scrimmage. This is Donahue.
Nice cut.
And Donahue fights his way across the 45. Clock down to 5:38 to go.
My understanding that the East Brunswick freshman team was victorious today versus the Cedar Ridge Cougars. They were down 21-0 at halftime and came back to win the game 27-21. And they've already knocked off Union this year.
So, something to look forward to. 3rd and about 4. That's Goldstein. He's got the first down.
And East Brunswick will maintain possession.
And they'll move the chains, I believe. They're going to bring him out.
Well, from our vantage point here, it does appear that Goldstein did get the first down.
I guess one question that's in the back of my mind, and I'll pose it to you guys, is how do you get the team up for Saraville? You're in the playoffs. Or do you need to, really? I guess that may be the more important question.
That's a good question.
First down for the Bears. Clock running, 4:40. White hands it off to Rulo once again, and Rulo picks up close to 5 yards.
John, if I can propose an answer to that question, I think Saraville is, having covered them all year for the Sentinel, is probably the one team in the GMC Red Division that East Brunswick could have a bad game and still win comfortably. The Bombers are just severely outmanned in terms of size, speed, and strength. And even a letdown by East Brunswick could.
All right, 2nd and 5 for the Bears. Goldstein outside, and he showed us some speed there as he turned the corner at about the 40-yard line.
Should be another first down.
And Dave Goldstein's a good little player. He's been solid every time I've viewed him in everything he does.
Well, he could have done us all a favor and stayed in bounds.
Yeah. He stepped out of bounds just short of the first down, so it'll be 3rd and about 2.
Okay.
And I'm sure this unit out here would like to punch one in. Rulo. And Rulo showing us a little toughness out there, carrying that ball for the first down.
Right. And if you're noticing a difference in this drive versus the last time the Bears had the ball, Cedar Ridge has taken out its first-string defensive players. And essentially, you have the junior varsities for each team playing now, except for some of the seniors.
All right, East Brunswick, 1st and 10, 3:30 to go in the game. East Brunswick's on top, 34-14. Goldstein, nice hole.
Great cut. He's in.
Oh! Just tripped up at about the 9-yard line. Fine run by Dave Goldstein.
Boy, I thought he was going to make it in, John.
Phil, that looks like an inside trap play they're running.
Exactly. The more you see Dave Goldstein, though, the more you like him. It's not too big a fellow, but gives it his all every time he's in the game.
It'll be 1st and 10. 1st and goal, actually. Let's call it from the 9-yard line. Here's Donahue trying to turn the corner and step in. He does. Touchdown, East Brunswick.
Just a nice run by Donahue. His first varsity touchdown. He's got to be real excited.
And if you look at the East Brunswick bench over there, they're all excited. A lot of those players were being cheered for, and now the roles are reversed.
If we can get a shot of that bench, you think Donahue just scored the winning touchdown, the game winner.
A lot of elation.
Well,
and that's great to see.
He's a likable kid, and his teammates are just happy for him. A lot of times they're the fodder for the varsity team, so when they get a chance to shine, it's just great for all of them.
Brian Donahue, number 28, a senior, 5'11", 180 pounds, scores his first varsity touchdown.
So you know he feels good.
And Levine is in for the extra point. Did we mention that?
Just now.
That's a delay of game again.
And Dan doesn't mind because he'd like to show off that toe. This kid can kick.
Oh, yeah.
So the Bears get 40 points for the first time this season.
And I think you hit on it before, Jimmy. They're blowing out a team that they should have blown out.
Right.
All right, let's see what Levine can do. High snap. White will take it, and he's going to walk in easily for the 2 points.
And when things are going right.
So 42-14 East Brunswick. And that's not trying to throw anything in the face of Cedar Ridge. That's a set play. If the ball is snapped high, White's instructions are to pick it up and run with it.
Troy, of course, is the regular holder, even for Josh Miller.
John, I'd like to get back to that question. How do you keep things in perspective for Saraville? Marcus Borton won't let his players get lackadaisical. They have to stay sharp. As I said, they're headed for the playoffs. It's probably one of the biggest times in the history of East Brunswick football. When you get lackadaisical and when you're not sharp mentally, that's when injuries come and whatnot. All these young players want to be in the playoffs, so they're going to go into that Saraville game. They should go into that Saraville game mentally sharp and ready to play good, solid football.
All right, Levine will kick it off with 2:41 left in the game. East Brunswick on top, 42-14.
Well, we'd like to thank Athletic Director Jerry Nestor from Cedar Ridge for providing us with this position in the press booth here.
And I think an order of thanks for the work being done by Pete Canamessa and Cindy Schiffman on a very cold evening. And this is Starks at about the 10-yard line. And he's got some running room.
Look at him go.
Look at him break away close to the 50-yard line. And Jim, I'll go out on a limb and say that in 2 years, the Cedar Ridge team could be a team to reckon with in this division.
That they will. They, as I mentioned, have players coming out for the team that just would not consider playing football a number of years ago. And again, we can point to the coach for Cedar Ridge, O'Connell. And I like the idea that some of the Cedar Ridge assistant coaches, Mike Lepore, Ron Guarneri, Jerry Bandola, these are all quality coaches in the Cedar Ridge Old Bridge school system. And they're coming back.
All right, the Cougars 1st and 10 from midfield. This is Mac Truck. We don't know who he is. But the ball is loose, and I think East Brunswick has it.
Yes, they do. Oh, gosh, let's see who got that.
That's a heartbreaker, really.
And it looks like the gentleman who scored the touchdown for East Brunswick, Brian Donahue.
I'll tell you, having a big afternoon late in the game.
He'll be telling his kids about that Cedar Ridge game in 1987.
Well, you just like to see it. He's a real nice kid.
Sure do. That's right. The Bears with 1:43 to go will, I'm sure, keep it on the ground. White back out there leading the offense. I believe that's Goldstein. Picks up a quick 5.
Well, we're waiting for the final running statistics here. A lot of players having a nice evening. Donahue and Goldstein adding to their statistics in the last quarter.
We'll call it 2nd and 5 for East Brunswick. 1:07, clock ticking. This is Donahue, and he's going to be dropped for about a 2-yard loss. And we're inside a minute. And so next week we're on to Saraville for the last regular season game. And as Jimmy pointed out, playoffs are now part of the schedule for East Brunswick.
Right, and we should point out that the first playoff game after this play, John, I'll pick up on that.
Clock down to 35 seconds. Goldstein. He'll be short of the first.
East Brunswick, by virtue of its earning the top seed, will be hosts for the first round game. They will play the 4th seeded team, and at this point it's Trenton. However, the Tornadoes could be out of it. Piscataway could be in. That game would be played the Saturday before Thanksgiving. I believe that's November 20.
We'll have a better idea come Monday afternoon in terms of the seeding and pairings. No, Jim?
No, they're...
Anyway, that's it. It's all over here in Old Bridge. East Brunswick, a 42-14 winner over the Cougars.
Well, John, just to amplify on the playoffs, it'll be this Friday and Saturday's games for the other teams in contention and next Friday's games because they have to be, that's the eighth game of the season.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Right, so the Bears would be will be assured of a home playoff berth for the first game. We don't know who the opponent is. And then East Brunswick has the luxury of not playing a Thanksgiving game, whereas many other teams do. They will have the Saturday after Thanksgiving off, and then the finals would be December 5th.
Okay, not much we can say here. It was a total team effort for East Brunswick. Cedar Ridge was never in this game. They didn't pick up their first down until almost the end of the 3rd period. And so East Brunswick improves their record now to 7-1. Looks forward to going up against Saraville. And then more importantly, that first round of the playoffs. So some last thoughts, gentlemen, before we leave this rather cold evening here.
Well, simply that East Brunswick's right on schedule. Again, the way things started out at the beginning of the year, we may not have felt that, but they are right on schedule right now and right where Marcus Gordon wants them to be.
John, take a look at East Brunswick, what they've done in the last 4 games. Against Woodbridge, it's on the ground. Against Perth Amboy, it's on the ground. Against J.P. Stevens, it's through the air. And against Cedar Ridge, it's on the ground. If I was an opponent of East Brunswick, I don't know what to think. I really don't. They have, everything is in gear right now.
Yeah, you're right, Jim, and it's just exciting football, and we really, not to look beyond Saraville, but that playoff game is really what I think got everyone going, and the excitement is starting to build. So from Old Bridge, and for Jim Allinder and Phil Hill, I'm John Meggiolaro saying good night, and thank you for being with us.